All right, I did this question behind because it kind of fits with what we were talking about, but it says this: why does God use visions and dreams? Question mark. Why not just tell us or show us through normal means? And so there is a passage out of Joel, Joel 2:28, and this is a famous quoted passage. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. Now, what's interesting about this, and I didn't really figure this out until this last year, but that's in the context of end times. Mm-hmm. A lot of people use that, if you have a vision or a dream, to point to this verse, but it's actually talking about it when in the verse after that it says, "Pour out my spirit in those days." But those days is specific to the end times tribulation period. But in any case, you have that. Question is, why does God do it that way?
You know what? I don't know, because the Bible doesn't say.
Yeah.
This is one of the passages when I heard the question. It says this is a passage where God is speaking to Miriam specifically and Aaron. But he says, "Hear now my words." This is in Numbers chapter 12, verse 6. "If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision, and I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. I speak with him face to face, even plainly, and not in dark sayings. And he sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" And so when you're looking at Moses specifically, it talks about the fact that God spoke to him face to face. Now, by the way, right now he's speaking to Miriam face to face at this point. This is at the tabernacle, and God is speaking from the glory of God out of the tabernacle to her and to Aaron, and making it known to her that she's not all that she thinks she is, and neither is Aaron, and that Moses is somebody that you need to be paying attention to here. And so Moses was the exception to the rule. As far as why does God do it this way, I think I can just give you some conjecture here. Let's do it. Let's do it this way. You said instead of doing it in a normal way. So what's normal?
Yeah.
How are we going to do that? So each one of us is going to have an appearance of the glory of God in front of us, and then God's going to be speaking from his glory, or we're each going to have a burning bush, same thing, glory of God, or what's normal in that situation? God does speak. The Bible's clear on the fact that God speaks to your heart. He speaks in a still small voice. That's what happened when he was speaking to Elijah on Mount Sinai, and he wasn't speaking through major events. There was an earthquake. There was a wind that shook the mountain. There was a fire that burnt the mountain, and it says that Elijah didn't hear he didn't see the Lord in those things. It wasn't until he heard a still small voice that he realized that God was speaking to him. And that's when he came out and had a conversation with the Lord. And so that continues to this day. God will speak to your heart about issues and things. But as far as the vision goes, and in this passage and in other passages, it equates a vision with a dream. And so it looks like a vision could be defined as a waking dream, where a dream is obviously a sleeping dream. And one of the things about a dream is that you're doing this when you are, laid flat on your back and you've got nothing else that is distracting you. And so that could be one of the reasons that God does this. Many times we're going through our day and we're focused on other things. And you know how hard it can be for the Lord to get through to you. And so that may be the reason that he does it. With a vision specifically, and actually even with a dream, what God is doing is taking over your brain. That's what's got to be taking place there. And so I'm seeing things that actually are not there. And so in a dream, in a normal dream, it's just my brain, basically going through the day or dealing with issues that that are on my mind, or just deep, I don't know, just calming itself down. Basically, my brain doing that kind of stuff. But when you're talking about a vision or a dream, what's happening is God is pointing to specific events. And in the case of a vision, he's making you see things that you wouldn't normally be able to see. And so he's taken over your vision in a vision. And I think that that's an effective way of communicating. It's much more effective than words. And it's not like God doesn't use words. And so when you get to the New Testament, Jesus comes along, and it's Jesus's words that we need to be paying attention to. There are visions that were given during the time of Jesus. When Jesus is coming down from the Mount of the Transfiguration, he lets the disciples know that they're not to tell the vision to anybody. And so they experienced a vision. And so that whole thing when they're on the mountain and the cloud comes and there's a voice that's coming from the cloud, God was taking over their brain at that point, and he was showing them things through that vision. And you have the same thing in other instances. In fact, Peter later on, he's in prison, he's delivered from prison by an angel, and he wakes up in the middle, he doesn't wake up, but he finds himself in the middle of the road, and he realizes that he's not having a vision. He thought he was having a vision at that point, and he realizes that it's real. That's an indication of how real visions are. When somebody is given one. And so I think that's a very effective way to communicate with people. And that's probably why God uses visions and dreams in the lives of people that he specifically wants to communicate something to. It's probably the most effective way. So
I've only had one clear vision and dream, or whatever you want to call it, in my life, and it was right before my father died. Mm-hmm. And for like 6 months, I regularly, nightly had a vision of Fireman's Memorial, mm-hmm. right? And then I get a call. My dad disappeared, basically, found a boat, didn't find him. Fast forward to the memorial that I wasn't a part of because he was a fireman. They did Fireman's Memorial, and I'm sitting there, and they, like if you've ever seen the movie Backdraft, or a movie where they have the white gloves and axes in a formal ceremony. I'm sitting in the chair, and here's my vision.
Yeah.
And clear as day. And one thing I think people don't understand is that it's not like a dream that's when you wake up, it's fuzzy and it's the weird mm-hmm. stuff going on. You're like, I remember some stuff, but I can't put it together. I can't articulate it. No, these are clear things that I'm literally watching my dream in front of me that I had for the last 6 months. And then I never had another one after that. Yeah. And so, Paul, I just went through 2 Corinthians, and he says, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know. Right. So there's your out-of-body experience theology. But what he said is that it was so real I couldn't tell the difference. Yeah. And, then you have John's Apocalypto, mm-hmm. Book of Revelation, and those types of things. And so there's a spiritual thing to it that's different than your typical dream, and it can be communicated effectively. Yeah.